After losing my memory, I became a trophy girlfriend of a business tycoon. One day, I ran into my boyfriend on the street. "Where have you been? Do you know how long I've been looking for you?" Wait, if this man is my boyfriend, then who is that tycoon at home? Oh God, am I some kind of player juggling multiple relationships? Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. At 3:30 in the morning, I woke up from a nightmare. Images of the car accident flooded my mind like scattered puzzle pieces. Beyond that, I couldn't remember anything. Due to the severe impact to my head, I had lost my memory. I wiped the sweat from my forehead, turned over, and then felt a hand with distinct knuckles. "Ah!" I screamed, turning on the light and struggling to sit up. Steve Lowell sat at my bedside. His sharp almond eyes fixed on me like a panther hunting in the darkness. This scene was similar to when I woke up after the car accident. Except then I was in the hospital, and now, I was in our marital bedroom. We were husband and wife. That's what Steve had told me. I still couldn't accept this reality. "Why are you here?" I pulled up the duvet, watching him warily. "Didn't we agree to sleep in separate rooms until I remember? I heard crying and was worried about you." Steve sat with his legs crossed, his posture incredibly elegant. His voice as gentle as a lover's whisper. "Did you have another nightmare?" My discontent felt unreasonable, stuck in my throat. He was always like this, dignified, elegant, gentle, and thoughtful, impossible to fault. Whether in romance or business, he handled everything with ease. I never used to believe that CEO types existed in real life. But now, facing this man in his tailored suit watching over me at 3 in the morning, I believed it. "I'm fine, you can go back to bed," I said tiredly, clutching the duvet. A hand touched my cheek, making me freeze. Steve wiped the cold sweat from my forehead. The motion practiced as if he'd done it countless times. "You're not well." "I'll stay with you tonight," he moved to come closer. "No," I jerked backward, knocking over the water glass on the bedside table. The glass crashed to the floor. Steve's hand stopped midair as he looked at me, his eyes dark and deep. My heart leaped into my throat. "I'm sorry. I'm just not used to this yet." After a long silence, he adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, a smile returning to his lips. "Bianca, we're married. You don't need to apologize." I forced a smile. "Just give me some time, please. I'll try to adjust." He said okay. And before I could react, he leaned in to plant a kiss on my forehead. It was forceful, tinged with desire, clearly more than just a goodnight peck. But thankfully it didn't go further. As I watched him leave the room, I exhaled deeply, staring at the massive wedding photo on the wall. In the photo, I was nestled against Steve. My smile sweet, but something about my pose seemed oddly unnatural. Like it had been photoshopped. I woke up to an enticing aroma. By the bedside, there was an elegant service cart with takeaway from the Grandeur Hotel, still warm. A note was attached to the lunchbox. Steve's handwriting as strong and bold as his personality. "Remember to eat." I have to admit, when a powerful CEO pampers you, he really does pamper you. After breakfast, I went downstairs for a walk. The entire mansion was empty except for me and a cat named Vivian. Surprisingly, Steve had named a male cat Vivian, which I found rather peculiar. While playing with the cat, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. After my car accident damaged my phone, Steve bought me a new one, completely empty except for his contact. I'd been cautious enough to have him cancel my old card while keeping the same number. This was the first call I'd received in days. As soon as I answered, a sharp, piercing voice shattered my eardrums. "Bianca Gray. If you don't want to work anymore, just quit the industry. How long has the film crew been waiting for you?" You what? "Managing an actress like you is the worst luck of my life. Get back here immediately." Before I could explain, they hung up. I stood there stunned for a while, suddenly realizing I was an actress. Steve had never mentioned I had a proper job. I quickly searched my name online. Wow, I had 30 million followers on Twitter, with countless PR articles. opening the comments and trending topics. Everyone was discussing my unauthorized leave from the set, with fans and critics fighting amongst themselves. I browsed through it all and learned about my basic situation. A third-rate actress with no acting skills, no notable works, no variety show presence. I'd only stayed on screen this long thanks to the face I inherited from my mother. Looking at my reflection in the glass, I thought that was quite objective. I was indeed quite pretty. That's probably why I managed to marry into wealth. But I didn't want to depend on Steve. Regardless of whether he had any peculiarities, I needed to make my own living. After all, a woman should be independent. I got the filming location from my agent and decided to head to work. After changing my clothes, I went downstairs only to face a troublesome situation. The door wouldn't budge. The villa's smart system activated, and a mechanical cold voice announced, "Command error, command error." It was facial recognition. But how could the facial recognition system not recognize the lady of the house? Puzzled, I checked the back door, the side door, and the windows. Every single exit to the outside world was sealed shut. Steve had actually locked me inside the villa. Well, the fox couldn't hide its tail forever. So much for playing the role of the gentle, caring husband. That facade crumbled rather quickly. I tried to confront him, but his phone was busy when I called. I even downloaded WhatsApp to message him, but he wasn't in my contacts list. After searching through every possible option, I finally found him in the blocked contacts. Brilliant. This wasn't a husband, this was an adversary. Just as I was feeling both angry and anxious, there was a click, and the door opened. Steve walked in expressionlessly, wearing an impeccably tailored black suit. That made him seem even more unapproachable than usual. Seeing me standing by the main door, he gave me a scrutinizing look. "You're up." My heart tightened. "Yes, I heard you coming back from upstairs." His dignified, cold features softened as he raised his hand to touch my face. But I instinctively dodged. He raised an eyebrow, suddenly lifting me up and carrying me to the sofa. Before I could process what was happening, I found myself straddling his lap, his arms firmly around my waist. "Why so unhappy? Was breakfast not good?" the man asked tenderly. The dangerous position and intimate distance made me swallow hard. My confrontational intentions evaporated, and I could only force a smile. "I've just been cooped up inside for too long. I want to go out." "Where do you want to go?" "I'll accompany you." "That wouldn't be." He narrowed his eyes. My smile froze. "I mean, you're so busy with work and all. Look, I've been lying around at home for several days now, and I'm fine. I just want to go out for a bit by myself. The doctor said you need proper rest. What if something triggers you while you're out alone?" "But be good." His tone turned cold, and the pressure became instant. I broke into a cold sweat, but this was about my career, my freedom. I couldn't just let it go. I leaned into him, wrapping my arms around his neck, using my most coquettish voice. "I'm just feeling stuffy inside. I want to see the flowers in the garden." I clearly felt Steve stiffen, his body freezing for a moment. The feminine charm was working. I pressed on. "Please? Pretty please, darling." He chuckled, the deep, pleasant sound resonating above my head. "All right." Having gained his permission, I docilely rested my head on his shoulder. "Ha, who said my acting skills weren't good, eh?" I successfully unlocked the small garden and, after some reconnaissance, discovered an exit. There was a low wall on the north side of the garden that looked climbable. While Steve was out again, I decided to make my move. We lived in an affluent area surrounded by detached houses, with rarely any passers-by. Wearing sunglasses and a face mask, with my hair tied up and dressed in comfortable clothes, I quietly climbed up the wall. Just as I was about to jump down, "What are you doing?" A middle-aged woman carrying a Hermes bag was glaring at me from below. I nearly fell off the wall in shock. The woman immediately pulled out her phone and started recording. "Girls, there's a thief here. Where's security? Someone call the police." I lunged towards her, removing my sunglasses and struggling to explain. Look, carefully. I'm Mrs. Lowell. The woman looked me up and down with disdain. Oh, dreaming in broad daylight, are you? Everyone knows Mr. Lowell is the most eligible bachelor. Have you looked in a mirror? All dolled up like that, as if Mr. Lowell would ever fancy you. Eligible bachelor? Everyone thinks he's single? Come to think of it, my official profile also states that I'm unmarried. Well, that makes sense since I'm a celebrity. And marriage at my age wouldn't be publicly announced. But he's not a public figure, why keep it private? What kind of marriage is this anyway? I became even more suspicious about our relationship. While I was lost in thought, the woman grabbed my arm and shouted to the security guard in the distance. Help! Over here! I ran for my life. At that moment, I thought my agent could definitely book me for a track and field competition. The 800-meter race would be meaningless without me. After escaping the estate, I caught a taxi and headed to the film set. As soon as I arrived on set, everyone stared at me like I was some kind of circus act. The director immediately launched into a tirade, and I didn't dare talk back. Perhaps it was my submissive attitude. But once he'd finished yelling, he let me go to makeup. When I changed and walked in front of the camera, he started his endless criticism again. Are you made of wood? Where are you putting your hands? Rest them there. I asked for elegant charm, not vulgar flirting. You're playing a lady of the court, not a woman from the streets. Say your lines. Are you mute? I'd lost my memory and had only managed to memorize the lines in the taxi. So naturally, I wasn't fluent. The director was so angry his mustache went crooked. Bianca Gray, did your holiday delete your brain? Bold of you to assume she ever had one, sneered my co-star. His name was Daniel Gibson. He was a handsome chap with delicate features and phoenix-like eyes. That kept staring at my face instead of the script. Being scolded by the director was one thing. But I wasn't about to let a supporting actor mock me. We were colleagues after all, and I wasn't afraid of him. I shot back, if you're so clever, why aren't you the lead actor? You, Daniel's face turned ashen. In front of the director, he grabbed my wrist. Come with me. Hey, what's wrong with you? Help. Everyone watched us struggle without moving a muscle, their eyes gleaming with anticipation for drama. I fought all the way as he dragged me into the break room. Are you mental? Gentlemen use words, not force. I yanked my hand away. The next second, I was roughly pushed against the wall, my head hitting it with a thud that made my brain rattle. Daniel, without a word, grabbed my chin and tried to kiss me. Bloody hell! He's gone mad. I stared in horror at his approaching face and pushed him away with all my strength. Crash! Daniel fell backward, taking a chair down with him. I held my throbbing head, while he scrambled up using the chair for support, laughing bitterly. Bianca, you're not just brainless, you're heartless. My head spinning, I managed a what? What an odd way to insult someone. Daniel advanced again, his face cold. Where have you been these past few days? Do you know how many times I've called and texted you? What am I to you? I was completely baffled. Who are you to me? Why should my whereabouts concern you? Who am I? I'm your boyfriend. What? I stared at him in shock. What did you say? Playing dumb again, are you? Daniel's tone grew more sarcastic. Or perhaps you fancy the lead actor more and want to break up with me? I was absolutely stunned. I'm involved with the lead actor too? How many partners do I have? My reaction must have been too shocking because Daniel's eyes turned red with anger. And he slapped me across the face. I saw stars and started to fall sideways. Bianca! The break room door burst open with a bang and an angry female voice rang out. Daniel, how dare you hit a woman? I looked up with difficulty to see a woman with a smart bob cut, storming in on 8-centimeter heels, quickly pulling me up. Without a doubt, this was my agent who had called earlier. Bianca, you disappear for days and come back only to date some violent man? She berated me. Daniel tried to grab me again, but my agent blocked him. She gave him a withering look. Our Bianca is on the rise. And I've seen plenty of D-list actors like you trying to leech off her success. Take my advice and pack your bags. Keep your hands to yourself, or I won't hesitate to call the police. Daniel's face turned paper white, his clenched fists showing blue veins. He seemed quite wary of my agent and after a long pause only managed to say, "Bianca and I have true love." My head throbbed even more. This abusive man was really my boyfriend? Thankfully, my agent was a force of nature. She rolled her eyes and dragged me away. I tentatively asked, "Hey, if you don't let your clients date, what about marriage? Has someone knocked your head in? You're thinking of marrying that unstable pretty boy?" My agent stopped in her tracks and laid into me. "Don't forget how you got where you are today. With your talent, do you think you'd have made it in this industry? Without your sponsor throwing money at your career? If I were you, I'd keep that sponsor happy. How dare you even think about dating? Get your priorities straight. A sponsor? I have a sponsor? I must be quite the character. A sponsor, a boyfriend, the lead actor, and Steve Lowell. I'm starting to understand why Steve kept me locked up at home. I, Bianca Gray, am truly a handful. After Daniel slapped me, my post-accident symptoms flared up again. My agent made a quick call to someone. And shortly after, a Bentley quietly parked outside the film set. She suddenly changed her attitude from being bossy to servile. As she ushered me into the car, the driver casually glanced at me through the rearview mirror and asked, "Home, Miss Gray?" "Which home?" I asked. "The one where the boss is, of course." I guess this must be my mysterious sponsor. Well, since things had come to this point, I took a deep breath and steeled myself. Fine, let's go. I, Bianca Gray, was going to find out exactly how many lovers I had. But as we drove on, the surroundings became increasingly familiar. This was the same neighborhood I'd run away from this morning. The place I'd called home for over a week. No way, it couldn't be. Was Steve my secret sponsor? A series of clues flooded my mind. Unrelated single people on the internet. My complete lack of familiarity with him. The neighbor who didn't know me. My supposedly colorful romantic history. Suddenly, everything seemed to make sense. When the driver dropped me off, my head was spinning as I stumbled through the door. Vivian greeted me enthusiastically, but I wasn't in the mood to play with him. I could only think about how this could be possible, me and Steve. Suddenly remembering something, I opened my phone and scrolled through my Twitter photos. One particular photo caught my attention. It was a photo shoot from last summer on an island. In it, I was smiling brightly, and it looked oddly familiar. My heart skipped a beat. I rushed upstairs to the bedroom, phone in hand, and stood before the massive wedding portrait. My body began to tremble uncontrollably. The smile in the phone photo matched perfectly with the one in the wedding photo, along with my awkward, out-of-place posture. This wedding photo was definitely photoshopped. Fake, it was all fake. Steve and I were nothing more than a financial arrangement. But why would he lie to me? The sound of an engine rumbled from the underground garage. He was back. I scooped up the cat and stormed downstairs in my slippers. "Steve, what exactly are you playing at? I'm going to get to the bottom of this today." The basement had a double-height ceiling, forming a spacious recreation room that connected to the underground garage, where Steve was parking his car. I stormed through the recreation room, holding the cat fiercely, then weakly retreated. On the right side was the concealed safe room, typically where valuable collections were kept in such mansions. But now the door was half open, revealing a dark interior with a strange odor. The engine's roar from the garage hadn't died down yet. I took a peek and pushed open the sliding door. The scene behind the door made my soul freeze in terror. In the dim corner of the room stood a massive metal cage, large enough to fit two of me. Inside were iron shackles and chains. The cage was old and rusty, with apparent signs of human activity inside. Looking closer, there were strange stains on the cage, dark like dried blood. The words psychopathic killer flashed through my mind. I stood there, paralyzed. Perhaps I didn't need to question Steve about imprisoning me during my amnesia anymore. Because he wasn't normal at all. He was planning to trap me here and attack me when I let my guard down. It could be imprisonment, murder, or something even darker and more twisted. How long had he been stalking me? And what was the truth behind the car accident that caused my amnesia? Was it all his plan from the beginning? Cold sweat broke out as I stood there. Just then, footsteps echoed from leather shoes at the end of the recreation room. Steve was back. I kicked the safe room door shut and scrambled up the stairs, rushing into my bedroom. I couldn't let him discover that I knew about the basement's secret. I huddled under the duvet, hearing the footsteps approach and stop beside me. A warm hand touched my forehead, accompanied by Steve's characteristically gentle voice. "Why are you in bed at this hour?" he asked with concern. "You're sweating so much, what's wrong?" Terrified to look at him, I mumbled, "I'm feeling a bit unwell." Steve pulled me out from under the duvet, holding my face to examine it carefully. He was wearing gold-rimmed glasses today, making him look even more like a sophisticated psychopath. "You're unwell but still went out," he said in a low, amused voice. I trembled, forcing myself to meet his eyes. He was smiling, but I felt no warmth in his gaze. "Tell me, where did you go today?" He stared at me. I could barely speak. Meow. Vivian slipped through the door gap, sauntering into the bedroom. I quickly said. Vivian ran out through the garden gate. I had no choice but to climb over the wall to find him. Avoiding his gaze, I pointed at Vivian sprawled on the floor, my heart pounding. He was naughty, I've already told him off. Steve watched me silently, then smiled again and asked, "Were you downstairs when I came in?" "No, I was sleeping upstairs the whole time," I said softly, trying to keep my voice steady. It must have been Vivian making noise. He's been very mischievous lately, jumping around everywhere. Steve followed my gaze to Vivian, then back to me, with a meaningful smile. "Indeed, very naughty." Vivian rubbed against his legs affectionately, and he picked him up, saying casually, "She'll behave once locked up." He was heading to the basement. Suddenly, I remembered I'd left the safe room light on. I watched him descend the stairs, feeling my blood turn to ice as a chill crept up from my feet. "Steve!" I threw back the covers and rushed to the door, hugging him from behind. Vivian gracefully jumped down from his arms and ran towards the stairs, swishing his tail. I held Steve's waist tightly, standing on my tiptoes with a trembling voice. "Don't go. I'm not feeling well. Stay with me." At this point, I had no choice but to seduce him. I knew Steve would fall for this. He turned around, and I naturally leaned into his embrace, burying my head in the crook of his neck, mumbling, "Will you stay with me?" Steve wrapped his arms around my waist, kissing my hair. "Mrs. Lowell, have you adjusted to your new identity?" My body tensed, yes. His hands began wandering around my waist, slipping beneath the thin fabric, leaving a trail of heat wherever they touched. Before I knew it, I was pinned to the bed. He leaned down to kiss me. Though Steve was a psychopath, I had to admit his kissing skills were impressive. He skillfully chased my tongue, sucking and intertwining until I felt dizzy. I knew exactly what awaited me, but I had no way to resist. I could only hope he wouldn't go downstairs tonight. I closed my eyes in despair. "It's okay, Bianca, what's this compared to life and death?" His scorching kisses traced down my jaw, stopping at my collarbone. "You're trembling?" His deep voice whispered in my ear. "Of course I am. Don't you know what kind of monster you are?" I wasn't just trembling, I wanted to cry. Steve looked up, studying my reddened eyes, patted my head, and gave me a gentle kiss. Light as a feather. "Since you're not ready, you shouldn't make such bold claims." He wrapped his arm around my waist and set me down gently. "We'll take it slow, no rush." After saying that, he went downstairs to cook in the kitchen. That night, he slept in my bed. I couldn't wrap my head around it, puzzling over the perfect facial features of the man beside me. Call him a gentleman, yet he invades my room and shares my bed. Call him domineering, Yet he acts like a perfect gentleman, lying there without touching me. Add to that his terrifying basement. Which is the real him? I just couldn't figure him out. I shook my head, trying to clear my curiosity about Steve from my mind. This is all part of a psychotic killer's scheme. I can't fall for his tricks. I quietly snuck into the bathroom, sat on the toilet, and started dialing 911. Halfway through, I canceled the call. No, if the police come and find no substantial evidence, and I end up burning bridges with Steve, what then? I won't be safe. I need to ensure my safety first, then expose his misdeeds. Considering the aftermath, I quickly scrolled through my WhatsApp contacts, looking for someone who could help. To my despair, I discovered that since losing my memory, I'd only interacted with 3 people. Apart from Steve, the primary threat, there was his bootlicking agent and my potentially abusive boyfriend. Bloody hell, compared to a psychotic murderer. Even Daniel Gibson, the domestic abuser, seemed almost endearing. I clicked on Daniel's profile. He'd been messaging me constantly on WhatsApp, apologizing and trying to win me back, sending numerous old photos of us together. I pressed the voice call button, and after a few seconds, he picked up. Daniel sounded energetic, with noisy filming going on in the background. Bianca! He seemed excited. You've finally come around, let me tell you. Daniel, I'm in danger. I whispered quickly, afraid of being overheard. Listen, tomorrow at 12:30, meet me at Central Tower. His tone changed immediately. What's happened? I heard Steve turning over in bed outside. I hissed, don't ask questions, just do it, before quickly hanging up, my heart pounding. No matter how nice Steve seemed, I had to escape. Otherwise, that cage in the basement might end up being for me. The next day, after Steve left for work, I prepared to go out. As soon as I pulled the door handle, the alarm went off again. Steve had locked me in the mansion again. And this time, he wouldn't even let me into the small garden. I glared at the facial recognition screen, which displayed my anxious face in full view. All other exits in the mansion were sealed off. The only way out was through the small screen. Menu, settings, system settings. I squinted at the tiny text on the screen, clicking through each option until my finger hovered over the restart button. Experience had taught me that restarting could solve 90% of computer problems. Without hesitation, I clicked confirm. Restarting. I watched the text on the screen with wild excitement. After what felt like an endless loading bar, a 9-digit keypad appeared. Please enter password. Bloody hell! I punched the door in frustration, then after a moment of clarity, an idea struck me. Oh Steve, I'm so glad you're such a controlling CEO. I took out my phone and opened the search engine. Looking at Steve's profile, I entered his birthday on the keypad. Incorrect password. I stood there stunned for 2 seconds, scratched my head, then tried my own birthday. A few minutes later, the door opened. Steve had actually used my birthday as the password. But I had no time to dwell on that thought and immediately rushed out the door. I rushed alone to the meeting spot where Daniel and I had agreed to meet. Damn it, Daniel was late. I sent him several voice messages, but there was no response. People kept passing by as I adjusted my sunglasses and stepped aside, my heart racing with anxiety. Just then, my phone vibrated. Thinking Daniel had finally shown up, I was about to answer excitedly when I saw the name on the screen and froze. Steve Lowell. Taking a deep breath, I answered the phone, only to hear 2 words spoken in a low, deep voice that exploded in my ear. Turn around. I turned, watching in disbelief as the man holding his phone walked towards me. Only 2 words crossed my mind. I'm done. My feet felt nailed to the ground as I watched Steve approach. My throat felt like it was stuffed with cotton wool, leaving me speechless. How did you get out? Steve asked calmly, his expression unreadable. I laughed awkwardly. There might be a bug in the door lock system. Should we report it to the company? Bloody hell, what am I saying? Seeing Steve gazing at me thoughtfully, I stepped forward and took his arm, putting on my sweetest expression. I missed you and wanted to surprise you, that's all. Steve raised an eyebrow. How did you know I was here? We're just that connected, I said. Who would have thought that my greatest challenge wouldn't be the script? But Steve himself. Fortunately, Director Lowell seemed satisfied with this scene, his lips curling into a slight smile as he took my hand. Since you're here, let's go shopping together. I had no choice but to accompany Steve on his shopping spree. I finally understood what true luxury meant. Every piece of clothing I glanced at, Steve had just one word: buy. By the end, the shop assistant's arms were full of shopping bags from luxury boutiques. I quickly put my sunglasses back on, as the assistants escorted us to the underground car park with deep bows, their faces barely concealing their delight. Let's go home, you must be tired. Steve squeezed my hand and thoughtfully opened the car door for me. As the door locked, my heart sank. Bloody hell, that unreliable git. How did Daniel let slip our escape plan to Steve? After returning home, I once again played the role of a devoted wife to keep Steve calm. I even went against my nature of never touching housework by cooking for him. As I watched the beef stew bubbling in the pot, I thought to myself that this couldn't go on forever. Who knows, once Steve gets tired of me, I might end up like the meat in this pot. I secretly took out my phone, trying to contact Daniel, but received no response from him. Thump, thump, thump. Suddenly, a muffled knocking sound faintly reached my ears. My heart skipped a beat. The sound seemed to be coming from downstairs. I put on my cardigan and tiptoed down the stairs. The knocking echoed, getting closer and closer, coming from the safe room. Besides that, there was a weak male voice: help. Bloody hell, there's another victim in this mansion besides me? And it's a man? Steve, you're not picky about gender, are you? I grabbed a kitchen knife and tremblingly walked into the safe room. The man heard movement and suddenly shrank back. Who's there? That voice sounded familiar. I froze. Daniel? He also froze. Bianca? I turned on the light and saw Daniel's pale face. He was locked in a metal cage, completely lacking the aggressive attitude from when he questioned me the other day. How did you end up here? I was heading out to meet you, but someone put a bag over my head and brought me here. I've been locked up for a whole day. Bloody hell. Steve not only knew about our escape plan but had also kidnapped Daniel. Daniel gripped the metal bars. Bianca, have we offended someone? I crouched down. It's a long story. Let me get you out first. It's dangerous here, we need to leave quickly. He agreed repeatedly, pointing at the chain lock on the cage, urgently saying, Quick, open the lock. Following Daniel's guidance, I swung the kitchen knife hard at the padlock. Once, twice, 3 times. Click. The lock opened. I carefully picked up the padlock. Bloody hell, it was broken. I stared at Daniel in disbelief. You've been locked up for a whole day like this? He rubbed his head, looking particularly pitiful. How was I supposed to know? I pulled at it and it didn't open. I was too scared to notice much else. I rolled my eyes. Come with me. Wait, my legs are numb. Damn, why did I ever get involved with this man? I helped Daniel walk out of the basement. And just as we were about to reach the brightly lit exit, there was a sudden click. The power tripped, plunging the entire mansion into darkness. My heart nearly jumped out of my throat as I felt my way towards the main door. Guided only by memory. Where the hell are we, Bianca? I'm terrified. Are we being targeted by a serial killer? Daniel was trembling, breathing heavily next to my ear. Would you just shut the bloody? Suddenly, a piercing alarm blared throughout the mansion. I jerked my head up to see all the smart system indicator lights starting to flash. In the alternating red and yellow lights, I turned stiffly to find Steve standing on the stairs, looking down at us in his tailored suit, a cruel smile playing on his lips. In his hand, he held a heavy axe. Bloody hell! Daniel screamed beside me in terror, shoving me aside as he bolted. I stumbled, falling against the floor. Steve pressed the blade against the wall, one hand in his trouser pocket, walking down the stairs with elegant steps, his gold-rimmed glasses gleaming coldly. Under the overwhelming pressure, I thought I might still have a chance. I scrambled up and sprinted madly in the direction Daniel had fled. Stumbling and staggering, I screamed at the top of my lungs. Daniel! Wait for me! Don't run off! His terrified screams echoed through the mansion. If I don't run, I'm bloody dead. Bianca, what kind of person have you gotten involved with? I just wanted to date you for some publicity. I don't want to die here. I turned the corridor bend, hearing Daniel's voice but unable to see him. I could feel him getting further and further away from me. In the darkness, my body slammed into a wall. I clutched my arm, trying desperately to make out what was ahead, but it was useless. I'd reached the end of the passage. Overwhelming fear spread from my core, leaving me drenched in sweat but with ice-cold limbs. Steve was approaching with his axe. I slid down the wall to the floor, finally breaking into loud sobs. I'm sorry. I won't run anymore. Please let me go, please. As I desperately awaited death's arrival. In the next moment, my wrist was grabbed, and I was pulled into a warm embrace. Steve's familiar scent enveloped me as he patted my back, comforting me softly just as he did when putting me to bed. There, stop crying. Now you know what kind of person Daniel is, don't you? I choked back my tears, sniffling uncertainly in his arms. What? What do you mean? You're not going to kill me? You're my wife, how could I? He kissed my forehead, wiping away my tears with his thumb. Aren't I just some third-rate actress you're keeping? I sobbed through tears and snot. Keeping? He chuckled softly. So this dramatic story you've conjured up in your head these past few days, that's the plot you came up with? In the warmly lit study, I sat with swollen eyes, gazing tearfully at 2 wedding photos on the desk. I touched the official stamp on them, still in disbelief. Is this real? Not only do I have the register office's stamp, but I also have proof of our childhood together. Steve pulled out a thick photo album, showing me page by page. The photos looked aged, showing a little boy and girl sitting close together. The little girl was unmistakably pretty, it was clearly me, no Photoshop needed. Our families have been friends for generations. We've known each other since childhood. And we were betrothed early on, Steve explained. Then why did I have a boyfriend? And why are these wedding photos fake? I felt even more confused. Steve gave me a reproachful look, mixed with tender complaint. When you were little, you were so attached to me. Always following me around saying you'd marry me. But you changed as you grew up. You fell for Daniel Gibson. And even joined the entertainment industry for him despite our engagement. You didn't even show up for our wedding photos. How could I possibly like someone like him? That's what I thought too. Steve spread his hands. Nothing I did could change your mind, until that day. You had the car accident and lost your memory. I knew it was my last chance. So you set up this whole scheme for me to fall into? Steve chuckled. At first, I just wanted to keep you by my side. But watching your wild theories unfold became quite entertaining. He covered his mouth with his fist, trying to suppress his laughter. You find this funny? I kicked him. You nearly scared me to death. At least you saw Daniel's true colors. And mine. Yours? You used to say I was too boring, too rigid, not interesting enough. He leaned in close, giving me a quick peck on the lips. Now you know that if you want excitement, I can provide that too. I couldn't help but punch his arm. Steve Lowell! That's completely the wrong way to court someone. No girl would fall for that. Yes, Mrs. Lowell. Mr. Lowell obligingly kissed me and slipped a diamond ring onto my finger. I blushed. As he leaned in to kiss me again, I stopped him. Wait, about that cage in the basement. I used to have a Saint Bernard named Juliet. Steve, you're so weird. Giving feminine names to male cats and Saint Bernards. Turning simple care for his wife into a crime thriller when I had amnesia. Having absolute advantage but always maintaining proper etiquette. Having countless tricks up his sleeve for dealing with rivals in love. His passionate kiss suddenly fell upon my lips. And I knew I could never escape him for the rest of my life.